Is it okay for him to discipline your child without consulting in you first? So I'll wait for you to wait to either type it in or call in or whichever way you want to answer that question. To Monique, same question for you. Now I know we're talking about the women, but is there a difference between the women and the men that may discipline the children? Now, TT has finally commented back. She said no man should whoop a girl. Now, Monique, what about you? So I know you're all for if that's my child, don't touch it. You know, if you're the woman. But what about if you get a guy and he's the stepfather and you're gone and she is just writing on the wall, markers tearing up stuff? Does that give him the right to discipline her? Monique? I don't know. We may have lost her. But so I'm going to talk directly to you, TT. I feel that you're correct. I don't think that men should. Miss Monique, if you can hear me, we've dropped the call. If you want to call back, please feel free to call back. I feel like no man should hit a woman, a child, a little girl. Sorry, y'all, a woman or a little girl. But anyway, I feel like no man should discipline someone else's daughter. Um, but I kind of feel like mm, if they're just doing something so bad and just is so irate, I wouldn't say it was 100% wrong, but we would definitely have to sit down and talk about it. Um, Before, we would have boundaries set anyway. So it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm just going to whoop your child. We're going to have some boundaries set. It's going to be, let's get this understood right now. What can I do and what can't I do? Per se, what are the boundaries? So I think if you set those boundaries from the beginning, you won't run into, you overstepping your boundaries, you this, you that, and blase, blase. Now, some people still take it amongst themselves to discipline children the way they wanted to discipline them. Then you have some people that discipline your child wrong, but will not whoop their own child. So I definitely see how being a step parent, wife, or whatever, a newcomer, can play a big role in you trying to discipline someone's child. Because I firmly believe that it's not always equality when it comes to that. So I'm here, guys. I'm just reading some comments, and I want to reply to everybody as the comments come in. But so, topic of the day is stepmoms, girlfriends, wives that overstep their boundaries. We had a caller, Miss Monique, called in. She didn't think that it should be appropriate for the step parent to discipline the child. Um, my listeners that are in the chat room, they feel that it's okay. If it's not a little girl, then it should be okay. Me, I feel like we need to set the boundaries from the beginning. But sometimes as mothers now, and I'm just going to keep it real, a lot of times as mothers, you get wrapped up and involved with a person, you know, whether it be same sex, whether it be male or whatever. And you tend to turn a blind eye sometimes when they're disciplining your child. Your child can come to you and say, hey, I don't like the way such and such did this to me or such and such hurt me. And you don't instantly believe the child. You automatically go into, well, that's not the person I know mode. You know, so it's just a tough question when you're a step parent and you're coming into a new relationship with a person that has children, especially if they're disrespectful, badass kids. So we do have a caller. I'm going to go ahead and take the call. Thank you for calling the evening wind down. Who are we speaking with?
Monique.
Oh, so we got you back. I was wondering what happened. And so I didn't just want to disconnect on you, but we didn't hear you anymore. So, but thank you for calling back. I don't know if you heard, and we also have another caller. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to tag team this thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks for calling into the evening wind down. Who do we have on the line? I know we have Miss Monique, and then who else do we have on the line?
This is Miss Webb.
Welcome, Miss Fab. So you and Miss Monique have two different theories because you feel like it takes a village to raise. Let me go back to your comment. It takes a village, so as long as it's not abuse, it should be allowed. Miss Monique thinks there's no way that it should be allowed. So I want to get your take and your thoughts on it.
I definitely think that, this is something that should be a discussion beforehand, before any discipline ever takes place.
Right.
As a couple, you should discuss if and how the discipline will be initiated.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
My preference for girls is to not allow a man to discipline them in the same sense. A lot of times the man can just speak and that's enough. His voice carries enough that, she'll immediately just, cry. So, a lot of times it's not even necessary for him to even go that far. And a lot of times when there are restrictions on who can discipline and who can't, there's disrespect within that relationship that, well, you can't touch me because my mama said and my daddy said, and that, that becomes a whole nother issue.
Right. And I feel like that's where you have to sit down with the child and explain to them on how the situation is going to go so they won't feel like they're bigger than an adult.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I agree with both of you.
I'm from the old school where when we got in trouble, the neighbor over here whooped your butt, the neighbor over there whooped your butt, then the neighbor right there around the corner whooped your butt, and then when you got home and they told your mama what went on, then you got another whooping.
Right.
So, it was like whatever it was you did, you knew you ain't gonna try that no more.
Right. So I'm going to ask both of you ladies this. Have you ever been in a situation to where you were the step parent and possibly had to discipline someone else's child?
I have.
No.
I have. And it did not go as well as it should have. And when his father intervened, it got totally out of hand because not only had he did what he did to cause me to take action against him, then now there's, him taking his actions against me that caused his father to also, step in and intervene.
So it was a setup, pretty much.
Well, no, I don't mean that. I mean, he did what he did to get in trouble.
Okay.
At first. And I was the parent around, so I initiated the discipline. And then when I tried to initiate the discipline, he resisted and fought back.
Did you whip him with a belt or a switch?
A belt.
That makes a difference. I'm telling you, it makes a difference.
So when his father found out that, not only did he do what he did that caused him to get in trouble, but then he also disrespected me in that way. He got angry, and when he came to discipline, it got out of hand.
So they got into a fight.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I'm thinking like the son did it to get you in trouble with the daddy, but so it sounds like
no,
he did what he did. He disrespected you, which caused the father to come home and really get in that ass, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because I was trying to initiate the discipline before his dad would, to try to eliminate or address the issue.
Yeah.
And that would, had he not resisted me, then that would have been the end of it.
Gotcha. So Monique, you said you've never been a step parent before.
I have, but I never dealt with a situation where I had to discipline a child that was my stepchild. I always went to their father like, "Hey, can you get your child?" You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to, you know, discipline your child and you'll have a problem about it. And they handle it like it was never really a response back like, "Oh yeah, you can do that." Like no, it was just like they went immediately and solved the issue.
Mhm.
So what about now? You stated that you and your child's father, you don't live in the same household. One of your children come
If he's
home and
a
say,
woman,
"Hey, so
if
and so whooped me." How do
it's
you
gonna be
handle
a
that?
problem. It's gonna be a problem because first it depends on if I know this woman or not to even feel comfortable of even letting my kids around them because I look at so many facilities like daycare facilities and you know people girlfriends or boyfriends abusing people kids. And well, those parents after they found out their kids has been abused, they know nothing of this person.
You mean they didn't do their
So
background? Is that what you're saying?
right, right, like they don't know this person well enough to let their child be around, or just for the simple fact not even know that their child is around that person.
Now
So
let me weigh in.
mhm,
This goes to Miss Fab, TT,
Mhm.
Monique. Let's just be real, ladies. How often do we take the time to get to know men or women before we bring them in our homes around our children? And I want to say that for men, if you got a single man, right? He's a single man, he got some kids. He's looking for somebody to move in quick. How often do
Mhm.
you just you take the time to say no? I'm going to get to know you for 4, 5, 6, 7 months, or either do a background on you. How often does that happen, realistically speaking?
Yeah.
they don't.
Realistically, it doesn't. Not that often. I
Right.
mean,
Because
you do sometimes, but you know, and especially if you're a single parent, you kind of look for
Mm-hmm.
that relief of having, a partner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well,
a lot of times we don't do that.
my take on it is that I was in a relationship for a very long time, so I never had to deal with another man coming in with me and my kids. Besides my oldest son, and I only had one son, and he knew him since he was a baby. So it really wasn't an issue there. But as far as discipline wise, disciplining him, I had to set boundaries because I was always looking at it like, no, he have a father. But then in the long run, it was like, okay, I had to talk to my son. I had to set him down. Like, hey, you getting beside yourself. You're talking to an adult. And I had to tell him, instead of getting so riled up, you come talk to me about it because I really didn't like how he was trying to handle the situation. And it's different because I handle situations different than how he tried to handle them. And we wasn't equally on that level. So
Right.
I had to set boundaries to say, hey, you can't cross that line. Hey, come talk to me. I'll deal with it until I felt comfortable enough to give that. But far as having
Mhm.
another guy, no. I had a guy that come in my house and say, "Oh, this is nice," and I was like, "Yep, I'm not talking to you no more." Just because of the simple fact, I'm like, "Nope, I feel like you finna try to move in on me." Just for the simple fact of how he was looking around, and I was just like, "No, no, this not happening. You gotta go."
Okay. All right. It all makes sense, but I mean, we just gotta. It's. I think to each his own, but you definitely have to be careful as to a who you have around your children, two who you have in your house. But I will tell you, people are sneaky as hell. If you have a little bitty
Mhm.
baby or a child that can't talk, they be whooping them kids. I don't care what they tell y'all. I'm just keeping it real.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
so
you
it's
got to
like,
think about it. If they are like Titi said, don't bring them over here or they're gonna get a whooping. If they do something bad, they're gonna get a whooping.
right.
She is a prime example of they be whooping your kids when you ain't around. I'm serious.
I mean,
That's a prime example. The girlfriend from hell, she gonna whoop them kids. If they being bad, oh, they getting a whooping. I ain't gonna say she gonna beat them, but it's definitely gonna be
And
some discipline.
yeah, and a lot of times just to discipline. it doesn't mean that they're even going to get an actual whooping. Some